Hi there. Did you know that Lake Tahoe has been losing clarity? Because we've been measuring water clarity in Lake Tahoe for a long time, we know for sure that it has been decreasing. You see that white disc hanging from the wire? That's called a Secchi disc, and it's just one of the instruments we use to measure water clarity. Let's head out on the lake. I'll leave you with researchers Brant and Katie to see what limnologists do.
I'm going to measure the water clarity today using this Secchi disc. I'm going to lower it down into the lake until it disappears and keep track of how deep it goes using the meter wheel. As the disc goes deeper and deeper, it gets harder to see. That's because the fine particles and the algae in the water scatter the light and make the disc disappear. So it's getting very difficult to see the disc right now. It's getting pretty deep. I got to be careful to make sure that I get it right when it disappears. The disc just went out of sight. If I look at my meter wheel, that's 20 meters deep, so just over 65 feet. That's a really good reading for today. So I'm going to bring it back in and put this away while Katie does some other work.
This is another commonly used piece of sampling equipment at Lake Tahoe. It's called a Van Doren sampler, and we use it to collect water from specific depths in the lake. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send this open bottle down to the depth that we want to collect our sample from. Once it's reached the depth that we want, I'm going to take this weight, also called a messenger, and I'm going to send it down the line. When it hits the bottle, it's going to simultaneously close both ends, and we'll have captured our water sample at the correct depth. I'm going to go ahead and bring it back up to the boat, and then we can get the water sample in a bottle and off to the lab for analysis. This sample came from 1,000 feet deep in the lake. I'm going to send it to the laboratory so they can analyze it for nutrients, fine sediment, and algae.
See that buoy? There's 5 of those on the surface of Lake Tahoe, and they're loaded with scientific equipment. Scientists from NASA and UC Davis use this data to determine how accurately satellites are measuring the Earth's surface temperatures. It's almost noon, so the Terra satellite should be flying by pretty quickly. So I'm bringing in the plankton net, and this just captured a bunch of the tiny creatures that live in the lake that eat the algae. They're called zooplankton. So all of the zooplankton have ended up in this cup here at the bottom. I'm going to take this cup off, and I should be able to see zooplankton jumping around in the bottom of the cup. The zooplankton in Lake Tahoe have probably undergone the greatest change of any part of the food web of the ecosystem in the lake.
The last sample we're going to collect out here today is for microplastics that are floating on the surface of Lake Tahoe, and we're going to use this manta trawl to do that. Microplastics primarily enter the lake through carelessly discarded trash. As these plastics are in the lake, they break down into tiny pieces that can have big consequences. So let's all do our part to make sure that our net stays free of plastics in the future.
Thanks, Katie and Brant. Through regular measurements, we can see how the lake is changing over time and whether efforts to restore Lake Tahoe are having the desired effects. This graph shows how the Secchi depth has changed since 1968 when scientists first started monitoring the lake. Each of the white circles represents the annual average Secchi depth for that year. Back in the 1960s, the number was about 100, meaning we could see down into the lake 100 feet. By the year 2000, we could only see down about 65 feet, a loss of more than 35 feet of clarity. Since that time, the decline has stopped, and clarity has leveled out at around 65 feet. The clarity during the winter months has actually been improving, likely the result of many environmental improvement projects. Summer, however, tells a different story. The summer clarity is still decreasing at a constant rate. Scientists believe that this is due to the impacts of climate change and human manipulation of the aquatic food web. Check out some of the other information around you, or ask one of the docents to tell you what else is being done to improve the health of the lake.